In 1999, police unlocked the vault of an abandoned bank in South Australia. It hadn't been touched in years. The inside was silent, dry, cold, and sitting in the center of the room were 6 large barrels. At first, investigators assumed they were filled with chemicals, but when they opened the first one, they stopped. Inside wasn't waste, it was human remains. And those barrels didn't hold one victim, they held 8. What police had uncovered inside the vault was the final chapter of a series of murders that had gone unnoticed for nearly a decade. A serial killing operation so disturbing and so methodical that it left the country in disbelief. The town was called a Snowtown, a quiet farming community 2 hours north of Adelaide. By the 1990s, it had begun to fade. Jobs dried up, stores closed, and even the police station had shut its doors. The only thing still standing was the bank. That's where the vault was. But this story doesn't start in Snowtown. It starts 160 kilometers south, in a northern suburb of Adelaide called Salisbury North. That's where a man named John Bunting had just moved in. To most people, he seemed friendly, confident, outgoing, sharp, but under the surface, he was controlling, calculating. He kept notebooks, made charts, wrote lists. He believed certain people didn't deserve to exist, and he had a word for what he wanted to do to them: cleansing. Soon, others began following him. Wagner, quiet and obedient. Haydon, a passive observer who never asked questions. And Vlassakis, a teenager who saw Bunting as a father figure. But this wasn't a friendship, it was a hierarchy, and John Bunting sat at the top. In 1992, a 22-year-old named Clinton Trezise went missing. He'd recently been introduced to Bunting. Months later, his body was found in a shallow grave near Lower Light, just north of the city. The case stalled, but for Bunting, it wasn't a mistake. Over the next 7 years, 12 more people disappeared, all connected in some way to the group. These weren't strangers, they were acquaintances, roommates, partners, people who trusted them. And Bunting didn't just end their lives, he erased them. He stole their IDs, he used their bank cards, answered their phones, he forged signatures, imitated their voices. One mother received a happy birthday card in her son's handwriting 3 years after he was already dead. To the outside world, it looked like people had just moved on, but behind the scenes, Bunting was keeping track of everything. He had a system. By 1997, there were too many bodies. They needed a place to put them. Someone suggested Snowtown. The old bank was vacant. The vault still worked. It was sealed, insulated, airtight. They drove north with 6 44-gallon drums, filled them with hydrochloric acid, and placed the remains inside. Then they locked the vault and walked away. For 2 years, the building sat untouched, but one victim's family wouldn't let it go. They kept asking questions, pressing the police. Eventually, investigators noticed something strange. Welfare payments still being claimed. Phone calls still being made. Everything pointed back to the same place, Snowtown. On May 20th, 1999, police entered the old bank. Before the vault doors even opened, they knew something was wrong. The smell hit them like a wave. Inside the chamber, they found 8 bodies, some so decomposed that only fragments remained. But what disturbed them the most was the wall. Taped up next to the drums was a handwritten list. Each victim's name, the dates, the bank account balances, the money withdrawn. It was accounting. Arrests followed fast. John Bunting, Wagner, Haydon, and Vlassakis. Vlassakis agreed to cooperate. His confession changed everything. He told investigators how the victims were chosen, how the cards were used, how the bodies were moved, how the vault was sealed. He just explained everything. In 2003, Bunting and Wagner were convicted of 11 murders each. They will never be released. Vlassakis admitted to 4 murders. He received 4 life sentences. Haydon, who helped move and store the bodies, was convicted as an accessory. He served over a decade in prison. But what made Snowtown so horrifying wasn't just what they did. It's how long they got away with it. For 7 years, no one noticed, no one asked. Today, the Snowtown Bank still stands. The vault has never been reopened. Locals don't talk about what they found there. They talk about what it felt like to walk past that building, to see it every day, to live beside it, and have no idea. Because the scariest part of the Snowtown murders was how long they stayed hidden. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.